The phone shattered into pieces on the floor, 1,000 tiny fragments scattering across the dimly lit room. He stared at the remnants, his hands still twitching with the residual rage. Each break of glass was an echo of something deeper within him, something that wasn't just about a phone, but about the countless things that had slipped through his grasp. His fingers clenched, but no sound came from his throat. The act, though violent, felt like a release. For a moment, it was the only thing that made sense. The phone had been a lifeline, a connection to the world, but now it was just another casualty. Like everything else in his life, it had betrayed him. The messages, the calls, the endless stream of data. It was all too much. The world outside of the screen felt distant, like it was slipping through his fingers, and in the chaos, he found only more chaos. He sat down heavily, staring at the broken phone with a strange emptiness. The past year had been a blur, a series of moments when his life seemed to dissolve into something unrecognizable. His name, his face, his every thought and action had become part of the digital ether. It wasn't just the stalking anymore, it was the way his life had become a spectacle for others to pick apart. He thought about the first time he'd met him, the man who had taken the form of a savior, the one who spoke in soothing tones, promised protection, promised understanding, the one who said, "I see you," the one who seemed to care, who made him feel like he wasn't just a player in a game, but someone who mattered. But slowly the cracks began to show. It wasn't his fault, it wasn't, it couldn't be. But each subtle lie, each slight manipulation broke him a little more. He had fallen for it. He had wanted to believe so badly, wanted to believe that someone could understand him, that love wasn't just a concept. But love, in this world, had turned into something dangerous. Now, sitting in the dark, he wondered if anyone had ever truly cared, or if he had been nothing more than a pawn in a game that he couldn't escape. His brother-in-law had once claimed to be God, but that was different. He could write that off as madness. This felt real, even if it was breaking him apart. He couldn't tell where the line between reality and madness had blurred, but it didn't matter anymore. He felt small in the face of it all, a speck in a universe that refused to care. He opened his laptop. It was time to write. If he couldn't make sense of his world, maybe he could at least make sense of his story. It was the only thing that felt his own anymore. He turned to ChatGPT, his fingers hovering over the keys, uncertain of where to start. "How do you even begin to tell your story?" he typed slowly, when the world already owned it. It took me a while to learn how to release my thoughts. I guess it starts with a belief your destiny can be brighter than anything you could ever acquire for yourself. As long as you sow seeds with gratitude and humility, you can accept the outcome with pride and honor when it's time to reap. Once we learn to relinquish control to the universe and let go of longing for things we don't have, we become free, independent agents of our own desires and goodwill. Clinging to the past is like handing your lover dead flowers and expecting them to bloom again. You deserve better. The people in your life deserve a better version of you. If we accept that we already have everything we need in this moment, because things are exactly as they should be, it can change everything. I know that's hard to wrap your head around, but at its most basic level, it's true. You are breathing, you are living, and you are okay right now. We are gifted with a limitless gift called love. What this means is that by caring for the learn to cherish the present, find joy in it, and bring your sense of perfection into the now. I found that by letting go of control, desire, choice, and ego, I can live freely, embracing the abundance, wealth, and unique life I already have. To prevent the erosion caused by the paradox of choice in your life, you could try adopting a few strategies. Set clear priorities. Identify what truly matters to you in a partner or decision, and focus on those key factors. Limit your options. Consciously narrow down your choices to a manageable number, making it easier to compare and evaluate. Practice mindfulness. Take a step back from the decision-making process to reflect on your feelings and thoughts, allowing you to make more authentic and intentional choices. Trust your instincts. Listen to your gut feelings and trust your own judgment when faced with difficult decisions. By implementing these strategies, you can better navigate the complexities of modern life and avoid becoming overwhelmed by the abundance of choices. I hope this helps in some way. Take care of yourself and have time to stop and breathe, and know that I love you. Silas was always good with technology. So good it often felt like the digital world was more real to him than the one outside his door. He knew how to break things down, how to build them back up, how to manipulate systems to work in his favor. Yet, for all his understanding, he couldn't seem to crack the code of his own heart. When things had gotten their worst, Britt had been the one to pull him out. Britt, the surfer with an easy smile and a knack for business, had stepped in when the world had turned its back on him. He had given Silas a place to stay, offered him a way back from the edge of everything, homelessness, despair. Britt had been everything Silas wasn't. Confident, smooth, in control of his surroundings. He was good with business, good with computers, skills that made Silas uneasy in a way he couldn't explain. But even though Britt seemed perfect, something wasn't right. The first sign should have been the phone. Britt had shattered his phone in a fit of rage. Silas had watched him slam it against the wall, each crack a warning sign of the darker side of his nature. That moment stuck with him long after. The rage seemed so out of place, so unprovoked, and yet Silas let it slide. He convinced himself that Britt was under stress, that it was just a momentary lapse. Britt spoke words of love, words that made him feel safe, made him fall for him. Silas moved in, embraced the connection, and believed that the love they shared was real. But the cracks began to show slowly, like tiny fractures in a perfect mirror. It wasn't long before he noticed the signs of infidelity. The late nights out, the moments when Britt would disappear without explanation. As invedenshiel, insensitive insusceptibility, snvednashuni, unfeeling, insensitive, sun-stilled, insensitive, stupefied, dead, benumbed, etherized. Asinvedi, insensible, insensitive, insensate, insentient. Avet, insensate, insensitive, insensible, insentient. Besud, insensible, delirious, senseless, unconscious, insentient, insensate. Sup, dormant, latent, sleeping, asleep, closed, insensitive. Snveden, shuni, insensitive, insensible, insentient, insensate. But you're not my boyfriend. We're not in a relationship. He said it so casually, as if there were no regard for how those words made Silas feel. His heart broke a little more each time, but he kept hoping, kept wanting to believe that things would get better. The relationship, once full of promise, slowly degraded into something painful. Britt's indifference to his feelings chipped away at whatever bond they had built. Silas felt invisible, unimportant. The betrayal wasn't just in the actions, but in the dismissive words that cut deeper than any physical wound. Then came Christmas, the day that shattered everything. Britt, who had once been his savior, had beaten him so badly that it felt like he might not survive. The violence was raw, unprovoked, and the realization hit him all at once. He was with a man capable of cruelty, a man who had no care for his well-being. They still lived together, but things had changed. The tension hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Britt left for a week-long trip, a brief absence that should have been a relief, but instead Silas found himself wondering what to do with the silence. It was during that week that a man, someone he had never met before, showed up in his life. This man, with a confident air and a strange, unsettling calm, claimed to be God. At first, Silas thought it was just some elaborate joke, a prank, but the man's words didn't feel like a joke. There was something about him, something that made him hesitate. The man spoke as if he understood everything, as if he knew the deepest corners of Silas's soul, like he could see the scars that had been left behind. Silas was unsure whether to trust him or not, but the curiosity, the strange sense of connection that stirred inside him, made him invite this man into his home. Maybe it was the emptiness that Britt's absence had left behind, or maybe it was just a desire to understand. Whatever it was, it felt like fate. The man who claimed to be God didn't seem to care about Silas's past or the mess of his life. He was simply there, speaking of things that both comforted and disturbed him, offering an eerie sort of guidance. In that moment, Silas wasn't sure what he was getting into, but a part of him hoped it would offer the answers he so desperately needed. It was the strangest thing. Stephen appeared out of nowhere, or at least, that's how it felt. Silas had been walking back from the store, his mind heavy with the weight of the silence left behind by Britt's absence. It wasn't unusual to find himself lost in thought, wandering through the motions of a day that felt both too long and too short. He had just rounded the corner when he saw him. A man standing by the bench, his posture calm, almost serene, as if he was waiting for something or someone. Silas didn't think much of it at first, but then the man caught his gaze. There was something in his eyes, something unsettling yet strangely inviting, a kind of knowing that made Silas stop in his tracks. Stephen asked, his voice smooth but carrying an odd weight, as though every word had more meaning than it should. Silas replied, his tone cautious. But there was something about this stranger, something that tugged at him, a pull he couldn't explain. Silas, VO. I don't think so. Stephen smiled, almost knowingly. Stephen, VO. You're lost. You've been lost for a long time. Silas felt his stomach drop. He didn't know if he was annoyed or just stunned. How could this guy know that? How could he know anything about him? Silas, VO. I don't know you. But Stephen's next words stopped him in his tracks. Silas blinked. Stephen just nodded, unfazed. Silas stared, unsure whether this man was joking or if he had lost his mind. Stephen, I'm not here to prove anything to you. I'm just here to offer you something you've been searching for. But as he stood there, something about Stephen's calmness, the strange authority in his voice, made him wonder if he wasn't as crazy as he seemed. Silas, all right, what is it? Stephen smiled, a knowing smile, and said simply, Stephen's calmness, his steady gaze, should have been reassuring, but it wasn't. Instead, the quiet in the air seemed to make everything worse. Silas couldn't put his finger on it, but something about the conversation, about the way Stephen spoke, began to stir something inside him, something deep and dark. It wasn't just the oddity of the man's words, it was a sense of déjà vu, like a memory that hadn't quite surfaced yet. The air around them thickened. Silas felt his pulse quicken, a faint tremor running through his fingers. His breath hitched, his chest tightening as the world began to feel too close, too loud. He couldn't escape the flood of memories crashing back. The bruises, the broken phone, the Christmas night that nearly killed him. The moments of gaslighting, the words that cut deeper than any wound. The feeling of being trapped, of being watched. His vision blurred, the edges of the world turning fuzzy. It was like he was back there again, back in that suffocating, never-ending spiral. The sharp sting of his anxiety rose to a boiling point. Hey, you can't just... It's all right, you're safe here. Stephen didn't flinch. He didn't move an inch. He just looked at Silas, his eyes softer now, as if he'd been waiting for this moment. Safe? The word felt like a lie. Silas could feel the panic creeping up, spreading through his chest like wildfire. His breaths came faster, shallower. His mind was screaming at him to get out, to run, to escape, but his body was frozen, like he was stuck in a dream where nothing made sense. Just breathe, you're not alone. But Silas could only hear the echoes of his past. The sound of Britt's laughter as he shattered the phone, the cold indifference in his eyes. And despite Stephen's calmness, the flood of memories was relentless, overwhelming. Stephen's calmness, his steady gaze, should have been reassuring, but it wasn't. Instead, the quiet in the air seemed to make everything worse. Silas couldn't put his finger on it, but something about the conversation, about the way Stephen spoke, began to stir something inside him, something deep and dark. And yet, Silas couldn't ignore the fact that Stephen was fairly attractive. For the past week, Stephen had spent every night with him, helping him through the silence and emptiness Britt had left behind. Silas hadn't asked for it, hadn't expected it, but Stephen had stayed anyway. It was a strange kind of comfort, a balm to the wounds Britt had inflicted. Stephen never pushed for anything physical, though the tension between them had flared unexpectedly that one night. The first time, they had nearly flooded the bathroom, going at it like rabbits, paying no mind to the direction of the shower head as water sprayed everywhere. It had been wild, unthinking, as if both of them had needed that release. But afterward, it only left Silas feeling more confused. What was I to do? I was hopelessly in love with Britt. This man who said he loved me but didn't love me, who betrayed me. The memories came rushing back. Britt's words, his indifference, the way he dismissed Silas's feelings as if they didn't matter. Silas's chest tightened. It felt so conflicting, so confusing. Stephen's presence was soothing, but it also made him feel unmoored, like he was drifting between two worlds, the one where Britt had crushed him, and the one where Stephen offered him a strange kind of solace. Hey, you can't just... He wanted to pull away, to scream, but the words were trapped inside him. And then it happened. Darkness, blackness so heavy that my consciousness left my body and I woke up on the couch at 4 p.m.